Alright, so the Nintendo Switch has been out, well, this one has been out, and it's starting to show its age a little bit. And when it came out, it was an incredible machine. I mean, the portability aspect of it's been amazing, but it needed a little bit of an upgrade. We thought we were going to get a sizable one at that, but we didn't. We got the OLED model. Now, the OLED model is incredible. For handheld use, it's unmatched, and it's super cool the way that it all fits together with better hardware on the exterior, but interior-wise, it's the exact same. So I went on a hunt. I was saying, how can I increase the docked experience? Because frankly, the difference between the two is very, very little, if at all. Now, there is something that exists, this little guy right here, the Mclassic by Mclassic. This is a upscaler. In fact, it has its own little computer chip inside. Essentially, you just plug the HDMI cable into one side and then plug this into your Switch, or kind of into your Switch dock, and you have yourself an image that resembles 4K. In fact, they claim that it's the same as upgrading your graphics card on your computer, and say that console gamers don't get to do that. Let's see if this actually does give you a better experience on your TV or your gaming monitor. I'm hopeful. So before we get too far into this, I'm just going to say that we're going to be talking about anti-aliasing. And the best way I can explain it is actually with kitchen utensils, because I cook and it's kind of how my brain works. So let's head to the kitchen real quick so I can explain to you exactly what anti-aliasing is, and there won't be any confusion going forward. All right, let's go. First, that is a pork shoulder, also known as a pork butt. But it's not the butt, it's the shoulder. Learn something new every day. Let's use the knife set that I have here in the kitchen because this is the best way I can explain anti-aliasing as someone who cooks. This right here is a paring knife, small, itty bitty, and this would be the best representation of what we have for retro gaming, 480p. It does its job, it's good, it's fine, it's awesome. This is 4K, the chef's knife, a nice giant 8-inch chef's knife. We can get bigger, but we're not gonna talk about that. This is what we currently have, 4K gaming, this beautiful resolution. It's big, it's well defined, it's awesome, and if we're gonna put them side by side, we can see how big of a difference it is, right? It's not an exact to scale of how big of a difference real 480 and 4K is, but you get the basic gist. Now, let's talk about the Nintendo Switch. The Nintendo Switch gives us a 1080p image, right? This, a slightly bigger paring knife. Some might even say boning, but I don't think so, it's not curved enough. This right here is our image on the Nintendo Switch. A little bit bigger than retro, as you can see, but not as big as 4K. All right, now we're getting somewhere. What happens when you take that image and you stretch it and you say it is upscaled? Well, upscaled is essentially the same thing as when you see in a movie they go zoom in, enhance, except that's not really a real thing in that instance, but it kind of is here with anti-aliasing. When you zoom in an image that looks like that, you get this, a bread knife, jagged edges everywhere. These jagged edges, though in a kitchen, really do serve its own purpose. In the video game world, look bad. It makes your image look really, really crappy. And when you see it on a giant 4K TV that has good clarity, you see all those imperfections and it can ruin your experience. Well, anti-aliasing kicks in here, and what that does is it takes these jagged edges, and it smooths it over. It enhances it. So instead of us zooming in from this to the bread knife, we actually, with anti-aliasing, get it zoomed in from that original image to this, a carving knife, okay? Now the difference between the two is we do see it's bigger. It is bigger, physically, right? It's actually bigger, it looks clean, and it's clear. Is it as crystal clear and as potent of an image as a chef's knife? No. Chef's knife, of course, has a little bit more girth to it. The chef's knife's dope. But it is better than the original paring knife. So that, my friends, is how anti-aliasing works by using a knife set. I hope that helps. Now let's get back to it. So how does this thing work? Well, it's actually pretty simple the way it all pieces together, and in fact, they ship all of the cables you would need with it, so that's actually pretty cool. You're gonna need an HDMI cable, provide your own. That's the only thing you're gonna need to provide, which you probably already have, but the rest is pretty simple. You take the product itself, the Mclassic, I would highly recommend using their extender that they give you. You plug it into the extender, and with the extender, you plug it into the back of your Nintendo Switch. For all of the tests you're gonna see in this video, I'm using the OLED. Just know that I originally tested all this on the Nintendo Switch OG. In fact, they sent this to me back the middle to end of last year because I figured, you know what, I'm gonna try to use my channel to see if I can get some free product. And they're very kind. They said, yeah, sure, we'll send it your way. You don't even need to do a review on it. But now I'm at a point where I want to look into this more and share with you guys if it is an actual viable way to have a pro experience on a dock. So anyway, we're gonna be using the OLED, okay? So you crack this open. This will work on either. You plug this into the actual dock itself. Now the extender's nice because even though this will fit, this is easier. And next is this. It isn't the most sexy setup, I will tell you that. But they, again, give you this. You plug in a micro USB to the device itself, and then you plug this into your dock because it's a real mini itty bitty computer inside. It actually needs that power. So, it's now ready to go. Plug in your HDMI cable from your television or your gaming monitor directly into the Mclassic, and you're up and running. So, now you need to go put this power on. All right, so the first thing that we're gonna wanna do is actually just test it out. Now, I've tested this before, but for the sake of the video, I'm gonna do it again. I'm just gonna go into Breath of the Wild because it's one of my favorite games to look at, and honestly, if this game can be upscaled at all, that's gonna be really, really nice. The visuals are already pretty stunning, but on a big screen TV, you start to see a little bit of the imperfections. So we're gonna go and hop into this real quick and check it out. The viewing angle is not the best. I'm gonna zoom in with the camera because I can't actually pick up the image that you would want to see upscaled on my capture card. My capture card only captures 1080p. So we're gonna zoom the camera in onto the TV and you're gonna get the actual TV itself. So what you're viewing right now is actually the image upscaled. This is the image itself and what it would look like with the upscaler turned on. I mean, aside from zooming in, kind of looking at the edges here, we can look at the edge of that post that we see over here. Now what I'm gonna do now is go to the back and switch off the upscaler and you guys will see. Now we do still see some of the jagged edges, but let's go ahead and switch that off real quick. So we switch it off and actually there's a significant increase in the jagged edges. Look at Link. Link has a lot more jagged edges around him, and look at the post. Now I'm gonna go back again, we'll switch it back on, just so you can see the difference between the two. And it's definitely smoother. Link looks a lot smoother. The post still has kind of the similar amount of jagged edges. And it seems like the sharpening looks pretty good. If we switch into another game to go ahead and take a look at what that looks like. Now again, you guys are getting, I'm looking at the TV itself with the camera. So you're getting exactly what you would see on a TV. I don't think this is a fair judgment to make on a gaming monitor because oftentimes people playing on gaming monitors aren't going to be playing at 4K, so there really is no point. So let's look at that post right here. Let's see if we can count more jagged edges. Let's check. So I counted 10. Let's see how many there are now. There are far more micro jagged edges, which just goes to show you that the anti-aliasing, I mean, if we look over at the donkey right now, the donkey looks pretty jagged. So let's go ahead and click it on and see what the donkey looks like when it is not jagged. So that's actually the biggest difference we're gonna see right there. That is a beautiful example of what this looks like. Now, I don't think that Breath of the Wild necessarily is the only game that this happens to. Apparently on games like, you know, some of the more retro titles, it looks even better. So let's crack into maybe a Super Nintendo game, or even more controversially, let's slap into a Nintendo 64 game. All right, so this is what we got with anti-aliasing and everything turned on. So this is the look of Link with anti-aliasing on. These are the buttons. Everything is, you know, smoothed over as much as possible. And so now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna turn off the upscaler. Now with the upscaler off, yeah, you can actually see a lot more jagged edges around his tunic. Now again, these are really, really, really subtle. Does this change the gameplay a lot? No. And honestly, with anti-aliasing, man, it's just, I don't know. I don't see there being such a big difference here. So I think it's important that we kind of finish this out with what they claim this thing can do. PC gamers are able to upgrade their graphics card, while console gamers have been limited by locked hardware. Not anymore. Exclamation point. The Mclassic is here to be the world's first add-on graphics processor for video game consoles. Yes, you read that right. The Mclassic is like having a new graphics card without the hassle of modifying your game console. And to an extent, I see what they're claiming here. Yeah, it enhances the image and upscales, as well as applies a nice fat layer of anti-aliasing to the console itself. Now, granted, this thing is advertised for the PS4, PS4 Slim, PS3, as well as the Xbox One, Xbox 360, and retro consoles. I mean, the Nintendo Switch is the only thing we really use this for because we're trying to see if we can get the pro performance out of the docked Nintendo Switch. Realistically, no. This thing isn't going to enhance the performance of your game, and that is truly what we are needing the most going forward in 2022. The games itself, sure, they look better. The jagged lines are, for the most part, smoothed over. Not all the way gone, but they're looking a little bit better, and on a 4K TV, it actually looks okay. I would have loved if Nintendo would have implemented this kind of thing in their new dock. I mean, we know there's a chip in it already, so why aren't they doing that? It's really not that big of a deal, and I think for $100, this thing is a little overpriced. I would spend maybe $50 on it, and then yeah, that'd be pretty good. At the end of the day though, this does not increase performance. The performance is what we need the most of going into this new console generation for the Nintendo Switch. We still struggle to get really good frame rates in games like Breath of the Wild, a first-party launch title that was originally created for the Nintendo Switch. That's a little embarrassing. I would have loved to see that optimized a little bit more. Does it take away from my enjoyment of the games? No. Does this increase my enjoyment of the games? No. But I think that we can definitely say that this does not make your Nintendo Switch a Nintendo Switch Pro. If anything, it just makes it look a little bit better and make you feel like you get a better image on your big old 4Ks. If you like this video, hit the like button. That helps me out quite a bit. Subscribe if you want, and if you want to watch me play video games live and have a conversation with me online, I got nothing else to say except happy gaming.